Hello and welcome to Number Wang, where we'll be reviewing the number 1975. Now this number... Oh, oh, okay. We're actually not talking about a number, we're talking about the band, the 1975. So hello and welcome, I'm Liam the Music Reviewer, and today we'll be talking about the new album from the 1975 called A Brief Inquiry into Online Relationships, which is thankfully a much shorter title than their last album, which is a good thing because my memory, it ain't what it used to be. You know who this band are at this point. I mean, they're one of the biggest bands on the planet. Love it or hate them, they have got that overwhelming popularity. Their debut album, I just do not care for at all. Maybe songs like Girls, maybe even Chocolate, I find just sort of daft and fun and can get me in a good mood, especially like Praise or something like that. But nothing else about it really boded well for the band. And then their sophomore record, I Like It When You Sleep Because You Are So Beautiful Yet So Unaware of It. I got it. That record was definitely an improvement. The instrumentation production was a lot richer. I thought some of the subject matter they explored as well was a bit more interesting, but it was still riddled with filler. Those sole instrumental tracks just don't know why they're there. I don't find them interesting at all. I don't think it ever will at this point. And it was actually the album, it was one of my earliest reviews, which everyone loved. There was no hate whatsoever. Everyone just agreed that Liam, you did a really good job. That being said, I don't actually mind this band for as negative it might have sounded just there. When it comes to the spectrum, I guess there's people who hate them, people that love them, and I'm just kind of like floating around in the middle here, which means I'm an intellectual and I'm smarter than you. I think that's how it works anyway. but in all seriousness, my expectations were pretty mid, and the singles that were released beforehand just didn't do anything for me, didn't whet my appetite. If anything, it did quite the opposite and made me kind of worried about what sort of route they were going down. Though as the album started to near like its release and some other cuts were shown off that definitely tantalised me a bit more, I thought, you know what, maybe this is actually going to be a bit better than I'm expecting it to. So I was, like I say, anticipating it, but was that anticipation justified at all? It certainly doesn't feel like it at the start. They do a reprise of the intro track from their last album, but now it's got like a fresh lick of Justin Vernon and Kanye idol worship, and it just doesn't do much for me. I don't really think they interestingly use the sort of influences here. Thematically it will make sense, but just because it doesn't mean it's inherently like a good choice. And I can say the same about the following track. Give yourself a try.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
Oh, this is easily one of the worst things I've heard all this year, and lyrically it's actually pretty competent. Well, sort of. That whole line about the fan with the box tattoo kind of gave me like Creature Comfort vibes. The song from Arcade Fire's last album, where it felt sort of self-congratulatory, just struck me as a bit weird, even though the general sentiment of those lines is meant to be sort of like a tribute to this fan, which is sweet. So again, it's not as bad as that line. It's just something that when I first heard it, and every time I've heard it subsequently, just kind of struck me as maybe just a bit off. The rest of the song is pretty reflective, like introspective type deal, that brings with it like a funny line or two, especially that one that goes, "A millennial that baby boomers like." I don't know, kind of tickled me a little bit. Probably sounded a bit positive there. But I think the aura of this track just kind of like overpowers anything good I could say about it. Matty's delivery is just whiny to the point that it's quite irritating, and then that lead guitar line, oh my god, it's just the bastardization of Disorder. And I know lots of people have said it, saying like it's a Joy Division ripoff, and see, to be fair, if they were to pay homage to that or anything like that, I wouldn't be all that angry about it. It's just the fact that the way they use it just isn't utilised well at all. It is just really annoying. I don't think it's mixed into the song all that well. It just kind of like really does undercut what this song's actually trying to go for. It's just like a deep fried bass boosted meme at this point. Don't hit that dislike button just yet though, because the record does start to reel me in eventually after the atrocious dancehall attempt that is to a time. We get How to Draw, P. Treaker, Pitikar, which has some pretty gorgeous, delicate percussion in its first half. And this was originally meant to be like a bonus song on that last album, I Like It When You Sleep. But as you would have guessed, there's now a second half to it, which is an entirely new composition that sees the band jump from like a Bon Iver influence to something more akin to like Aphex Twin or even Jamie XX, especially around that 4-minute mark for the former comparison. All just starts to get more skittish, which to me resembles something like the Collapse EP from this year or even Cyro. I really love those slow moody keys as well that mark the transition before some fuzzy kinetic beats just start to dance about and intertwine with that aforementioned percussion. This attempt at a dance song just really pays off. The heavily modulated vocals near the end, they're just a really endearing contrast, and it's quite unlike anything the band has done before. If there's some like really hardcore fan that says there's a demo cut from years and years ago that sounds kind of like this, then show me to it, I guess. But in terms of what I've heard, there's nothing quite close to what they're doing here, and I have to kind of commend them for that, because considering how big they are, they could have afforded to basically redo their last 2 albums, could have made a really safe move like that. But with songs like this, they show that they're kind of trying to be a bit more daring, which, yeah, again, like I don't want to praise a band just because they're trying to not do what they've done before, but I do think they start to get a bit inventive for kind of like their typical style of music. Love It If We Made It is a song that I've just did a complete 180 on since I originally heard it. Fucking in a car, shoot away. The comparison made between this and We Didn't Start the Fire, it's been brought up quite a bit as well, and I think it's pretty spot on. The production here being aptly glitzy, ubiquitous and dazzling. Matty is equally sturdy on here. His delivery is just really commanding, which makes some of the lines he projects really stand out. The whole sentiment about how modernity has failed us, followed by that triumphant hook, is quite the highlight. I have to admit that. It's not living if it's not with you. Man, this is the standout track, the highlight for me. I'm not really surprised, if I'm being honest, because my favourite song from the last album was the song which saw Matty talk about his addiction with drugs, and kind of doing it in a sort of ballady way. And this is essentially the same sort of thing. It's a love song that talks about his kind of like trials and tribulations with heroin, him trying to combat this addiction. And I quite like a few things that I really like about it. But the main one is just how he and the song try to like naturally tie in this behaviour, whether it be like excessive drinking or drug taking, to being sort of like a coping mechanism for the terrible news that we've seen more and more thanks to Twitter. I say thanks to Twitter, but like thanks to Twitter and our social media outlets. This album is definitely trying to be kind of smart and intellectual when talking about society at large, and on songs like here I think it does it in a way that doesn't feel too pompous or anything like that. There is some stuff that is said that I do actually think is quite insightful, even if I do find Matty in interviews pretty pretentious, compared to quite a lot of I guess conscious or socially aware artists. They're not doing too bad for themselves, and this song is just greatly helped by the fact that at its core it's just really infectious. The main groove is just utterly irresistible. I really dig it. I really dig it. And I have to admit, there's quite a few songs on here that I do like, so if people were expecting me to come into this all guns blazing, wanting to tear this to shreds, I'm sorry. But Sincerity is Scary has this really lovely contribution from Roy Hargrove, who passed not too long ago. His contribution on trumpet is lovely, adds to this whole jazz arrangement that they're going for, and it is really satisfying. I find this skit, The Man Who Married a Robot, quite funny. The Tale of Snowflake Smasher 86, I believe it is. It doesn't feel too strawman-y to me. There was this whole excerpt from an NME review where it was mentioned OK Computer, and folk were like, oh my god, I can't believe they're saying this, and it's like, well, this song sounds so much like Fitter Happier. Like, it does sound like a modern day version of that. I don't go into like looking for something like super woke or like mind-blowing from it. I just find it quite funny because there's quite a few people online that act like this, that really do kind of expose far too much or rely too much on the internet. I think we all do it to a certain extent, so I don't think it's trying to be a shaming song. I think it just kind of goes to show the extremes to which some people, especially folk that are maybe like a bit too sort of toxic with their attitudes towards it can really go. I like America and America Likes Me. This is another one that I like, and the whole synth pop attempt it goes for succeeds solely to Matty's passion that's on display, especially at the chorus, and when the vocals start to get layered and they just become pretty effective. My friend Andrew Barr from the podcast, we talked about this album a little bit, and he mentioned how basically how he's going for like a Bon Iver influence here. I say he, I mean the band, and how the beat was a bit more sort of trappy on here, and there's a lot of other comparisons that Andrew brought up to me, and I think that kind of is something that I kind of agree with to a certain extent. I do think sometimes when he's trying to go for the Bon Iver Kanye thing, that sometimes it feels just a bit shallow, that he's not properly executing it. But there are times like this song where it does feel like he's trying to interestingly mix it with something that the respective artists don't usually go for, so it doesn't feel like a simple appropriation of those artists' style. While I've been quite positive throughout this review, there's quite a few songs as well that I just don't care for. We My Mistakes, really minimal composition. It's definitely quite wonderful, but the song's lyrical core just doesn't evoke much out of me. And then on the other hand, we get something like Inside Your Mind, which has this vision that I found quite interesting, like wanting to know a loved one's thoughts to the extent that your behaviour could become sort of worrying. And Matty kind of goes over the top with some of his metaphors, like about like bashing somebody's head in, and that it's quite psychopathic, and that I think it manages to really like strengthen the whole thing it's going for, especially like I said with how this album's trying to talk about technology and the modern day and all that, which can be quite Black Mirror territory where you become sort of redundant in what you're trying to say. And this, I think this song's essentially trying to say how social media can enable that behaviour, and while that concept is intriguing and creepy, the execution is just too lazy and thin for me, and especially from a production and delivery standpoint, I just didn't really care for it. And the same can be said about quite a few songs in here, which are mostly just fine. There's not really another Two Time or another Give Yourself a Try where it's painfully bad. Most of the other songs are just okay, or maybe just a bit subpar. The ones I haven't mentioned already. Oh, also the finale song sounds like an Avril Lavigne track at the start, but I think it's quite a good little finale. I can see it being really cheesy to some people. I think it's quite cheesy, but I think it ends things quite strong. Again, I wasn't expecting it to be the way that it is, and I get something out of it. And overall, I get something out of this album, which honestly, I was expecting the band to just kind of like fall flat in their face. I thought this was going to be a worst album contender, no doubt, just because of what I made of Two Time and Give Yourself a Try, which still both suck. They're still both bad songs, but there's quite a good chunk of songs on here that I think are good. Some I would even say are great. And then there's another kind of, I don't know how many I would say, but there's another handful of songs that I just think are okay or just a bit sort of mid. So it's kind of the same problem that their last album had, in that there's just a bit of filler. But I was getting far more out of this than I was expecting to. I'm glad that the band kind of like experimented a little bit, and this whole ambition they had, I think can sometimes be their downfall, but a lot of times is eventually what makes this a surprisingly solid record for me. So in terms of a score, guys, I'm giving this a solid 6 out of 10. If you guys have listened to this, because I listened to a leak of it because I'm a very naughty boy, then you should let me know what you make of it, your favourite songs, your least favourite songs, a score. But I'm going to stop rambling now because it looks like I've nearly been going on about this album for 20 minutes, so wow, I'm really good at being compact. But thank you guys for watching, stay safe and stay hydrated.